Hey guys, this is E with Scrapbooking with Me, and we're going to start on a mini album. Now this is going to be quite a large mini album. It's going to be 8 by 8 by 4 inches. I have got just the covers done, and in this video I show you how to do the covers. Now we have just put down all of the inside covers, so I'm not going to bend this right now because our glue is still drying. But I wanted to show you what we're going to do in this video. Tomorrow's video, we'll come back and we'll do our spine attachment and we will do our pages, and I will have PDFs for both of those. But we're also going to be using this new paper collection from Prima. It's Pretty Mosaic. We're going to be using this paper collection. And then I did do some PDFs for you guys over the weekend. These are free PDFs. This is some labels that are like Easter labels. These are some floral tags. We can use all of this in our mini album. And then this is some botanical labels that I did. So all of these are free. I'll put that link below. And remember, the only thing that I ask you to do is make sure that you're subscribed to our YouTube channel in order to get any of our free PDFs. I'm trying to give you as many free things as I can because I know right now money is tight everywhere. People are being laid off, and you know, things are not shipping, things are not selling. I mean, our business has slowed down tremendously. We can't get shipments in, so it's a hard time for everybody. And I'm going to try to give you as much free stuff as I can to keep you busy and kind of keep you occupied during this time. Now, this mini album is going to be for 2 different people. Instead of doing 2 different mini albums, I'm going to do one, and I'm going to dedicate it to 2 different people. One will be Addie George, and then one will be Marie Webb. Addie said, albums, too many photos and not enough places for them. Maybe even simple enough that kids can help with the decorations, so not too delicate. This is definitely not going to be a delicate album. And then Marie Webb said, I would love a simple album, but nice enough for Christmas presents. Thank you for your prayers. This is going to be a simple album, but it's going to be nice enough for Christmas presents too. So this is going to cover both of you guys. So this one's going to be dedicated to Addie and Marie. All right, let's get into the first part of this mini album. Now, this is probably going to take us maybe 3 videos. The reason being, I'm not going to go fast on this. I'm going to take it slow. I'm going to slow down so you guys can see every process that I take. So just hang in there with us and let's get this beautiful album put together. All of you who say they'd like to see the finished project before we get started, there's not going to be a finished project on this one. I am making this album as we go. So as I'm filming, I'm making this album. There's not one already made like this that I have. So as I'm filming, I'm making this album. So there's not going to be a finished project until we get to the end. So join in there with me and make yours along with me. We're going to make kind of a large album this time. It's going to be an 8 by 8, and it's going to have a 4-inch spine. So this way you're going to be able to put lots of things in here. Lots of photos, lots of journaling, all of that kind of stuff. So at this time, you know, we're taking pictures at home, we're staying in, we're watching the kids play in the yard and that kind of thing. So it's time to take quite a few of those pictures to kind of document what's going on in our world right now. So this will be a good album for you to do that. And it also will be nice enough that you could do these for Christmas and give them away as Christmas gifts. It's not going to be complicated. It's going to be a pretty simple album, but it's going to have lots of tuck places and pockets and fold outs and things like that. First thing you're going to need, now I always cover my chipboard with some cardstock before I put it on my decorative paper. I've had quite a few people that said, well, why don't you just put the decorative paper over the cardstock and save a little bit of paper. I have tried that before, and the paper ends up cracking because, as you know, decorative paper is not as thick as cardstock. So I always use a pretty nice thick cardstock, and I usually use my craft cardstock to cover the chipboard, and then I put my decorative paper on top. That just always seems to work best for me, but you can certainly do it like you want. So you're going to need 2 pieces that are 10 by 12, 2 pieces that are cut 10 by 12. Now I've backed my camera out a little bit, so hopefully you'll be able to see all of this. You're going to put down score tape. I wouldn't use regular glue on this, just simply because you're going to need something really strong in this area to make sure that your paper doesn't slide and it doesn't give. Now I am going to pull in my scoreboard here, and what I'm going to do is kind of lay my paper this way, and I'm going to use this, the top of this, as kind of a butt up place to make sure that I get these together nice and straight. Alright, so I'm just going to push that one up against the top there, and then I'm going to lay this one up against the top, and I'm going to lay it over just that 1/4 of an inch. That's all I need there. And then press it down. So there you go. Now we've got those on there straight. And then of course I just kind of run my bone folder over everything to make sure that it's going to stay in there nice and tight. Now, as I do in most all of my mini albums, I cut an inch larger on each side than what my chipboard is. So I've got, my chipboard is 8, my paper is 10. So I'll have an inch down here, an inch up here, and then I'm going to have an inch on the end. But in order to get my chipboard laid on here straight, what I want to do is I'm going to mark an inch in. So I've got an inch line there, and then I'm going to mark an inch line over here. And this is real good to use your Tim Holtz ruler, because that darkest line right there, from there to there, is an inch. So there's my inch, and I'm going to go ahead and go all the way down, just so when I'm laying my other chipboard down, I'll have something to kind of go by. If you don't get your chipboard laid down straight, then you're going to have a mess when it comes to putting everything else together. So our chipboard is just going to lay in that corner. Put your little corners together, lay it down just like that. Now I'm going to put mine down with score tape and art glitter glue. You can use just art glitter glue if you want, but I have found that using score tape and art glitter glue, it makes it hold a lot better. So I'm going to put, I'm using a 1 inch here, and I'm going to run it down through here, and then I'll put my art glitter glue on top of it. Now always burnish your score tape down really well. That makes sure that it's adhered to your chipboard and it doesn't pull loose. So go ahead and pull the backing off of your score tape. And then we're going to take our art glitter glue and we're going to run over any areas that you see that might not have the tape all the way up to the edge. Then we're going to flip it over, and all we're going to do is lay it. We're going to put the point of the chipboard right in that point right there where our lines come together. There you go. Then again, you're going to burnish that down. And now we're going to put down our 4-inch spine. The reason I used a 4-inch, I want this to be a chunky album, but I don't want it to have that gator mouth. So I want a 4-inch so that we can, it'll close up, but it will be large enough that we can put all of these photos in. Now, when we're putting this together, you're going to need to leave some space in here. So you need to leave space in between your 2 pieces of chipboard. Let's go ahead and put our tape on, and then I'll show you how I lay that down. Again, we're going to bring in our art glitter glue and run it right on the edges and any place that we didn't have tape. This is going to ensure that this album stays together a long, long time, and that's what we want. Then we're going to flip it over, and what I'm going to do is, let me grab, I'm going to use some scrap chipboard, and I'm using 2 thicknesses of this same chipboard. And I'm going to put it right up, I'm going to butt it up against that piece over there. And then I'm going to lay this spine down right there, just like that. And then I have my width that I need. So see, I just have 2 thicknesses of it in there. That's going to give me lots of room for that to bend back and forth without anything cracking. Okay, now we're going to put this one down the same exact way. Just like that. We're going to put our tape on the back and put it down just like we did that one. Okay, I'm putting my 2 thicknesses of my chipboard down again, pressing them up against that spine piece, and then I'm going to lay this one in there. Just like that. I'm going to flip them over, and I'm going to run my bone folder on this side just to make sure that they're adhered down really well. Now I have a little bit more left down here than 1 inch, so I'm just going to cut that off. You can leave it if you want to and just use it, but I'm just going to trim mine off. I think it'll just make it easier for me to get all that bulk out of my paper. So I'm just going to throw it up in my trimmer. Try to get it as even as I can, and then just slice that part off. It doesn't have to be perfect. This is not going to show, but I just like that inch all the way around. It makes it a lot easier for me to put things together. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to show you, a lot of people ask me, how do you cut those corners where your chipboard doesn't show? I cut mine at a little bit of an oval egg-like shape, but a lot of people just use their 10 holtz ruler and they use the flat end side and they put it up against the end of the chipboard like that, and they just draw a line, and that's what they cut off. That leaves you that little bit more than 1/8 of an inch. Let's see. It's about, well, it's about 1/8 of an inch between your chipboard and the line. You can do that if you want to all the way around, or the way that I do mine, and let me grab my scissors. The way that I do mine is I go in at a little bit of an angle, and I kind of cut it at an oval like that. You see that piece that I cut out is a little bit more than it's an oval. So it just, I don't know, to me it helps. It may not help everybody else. You may like cutting it straight across. That's strictly up to you, but you can do it either way. And then another way that I saw a lady do to ensure that her chipboard didn't show, this little piece that she cut off, she took it and glued it right back on the top, just like that, on the corners. And that ensured that even if her chipboard did show, you're only going to see this part, the paper. You're not going to see the chipboard. So that's a good idea too. We'll go ahead and do that with these pieces. It's not going to hurt anything. It's just going to help make those corners a little bit stronger. So you just put that point right up at that chipboard like that. And then on this one, since you're cutting that piece off anyway, just go ahead and use it. Just like that. And then we'll go ahead and do these other corners, and we'll do them the same way. Then I take my scoring tool and I go right down the edge of that chipboard, and I score all the way around. That helps that paper to bend and not to crack. and it helps you get a really smooth edge. Just like that. Then I do another thing. I push this up against it. I use my bone folder and that flat end, and I press it up really tight. That gives you that flat edge right there that you want for your mini albums. That gives you that flat, crisp edge. And I just go all the way around doing that same thing. Then you see they almost bend up by themselves. So that is what we want right there. Now we're going to run our score tape around the edges here. And I'm going to run it right at the end of my chipboard. And I'm going to go straight across all of my joins. And then I'm also going to put it out here on the end of this paper. It's going to make sure that that paper lays down. Okay, then we're going to make sure that that is pressed down. So burnish your score tape really well. All right, then we're going to peel the backing off of our score tape. And we're going to pull the sides over and lay those down. Pull them really, really tight. Just as tight as you can. And press those down. Okay, go ahead and go to this side. Pull it up really tight. Press it down. Burnish it. And then I go to the ends, and if you have a little bit of extra paper right there, just go ahead and fold that down like that on both sides. Fold it in and down. That will ensure that when you pull those sides up, you don't have that little extra piece of paper sticking out there. Like that. Okay. Then we're going to pull the backing off of this. And then press that down. And then go to the other end and you're going to do the same exact thing. Just fold that paper in if it's too much. And a lot of times I just use my thumbnail. And then pull that up and press it down. Just like that. And see, you have your corners. Lay it over this way. See, not those nice corners. Now, I do something else that I don't know if anybody else does or not, but I've always done this. I don't like those sharp, sharp corners on the edges of my mini albums. So I take, and I'm going to wait until I get through talking and before I do this because it's a little bit loud and I may have to mute it. But I take the tip of that and I just tap it down on my mat. And that kind of gives you a little bit more of a blunt corner instead of a sharp edge. Okay, so just like that. And then we're going to take our bone folder and we're going to go right in those creases right there. Go right in that gap with our bone folder. Don't press hard because you don't want to tear your paper, but just kind of press down a little bit. And then just fold easily. So there is the beginning of our mini album. That's going to be a whopper, isn't it? But it's going to be nice because you're going to have lots of room for all of your photos, all of your journaling. And you know, during this time of the quarantine and the virus going around and all that, we're going to have lots of things to talk about and lots of photos that we need to take to just kind of be able to remember this in years to come. You know, maybe our kids will want to remember this too and look back on what Mom and Dad went through. Because even though years from now there's probably going to be a cure for this, there's probably going to be a shot you can take, right now there's not. And I think even years from now there's going to be new viruses and new things that pop up that maybe our kids are going to have to deal with when we're not here anymore. And they need to know kind of how Mom and Dad went through all of this and how we dealt with it and, you know, how we survived everything. So this is going to have lots of room to do all of that with. I'm going to use this new paper from Prima. It's called Pretty Mosaic. It's very, very pretty paper. I have just a few of these in stock, and a lot of our shipments are being held up. As you know, a lot of places are not even shipping anymore. But I have a few of these in stock, and I will link them below. But I'm going to use this to cover my mini album. I just love that paper right there. I don't know what it is about it that I like so much, but I like that. But I'm just flipping through and giving you an idea. That's pretty too. Let's see. That is gorgeous. So this is what I'm going to use. It's got a lot of pretty cutouts and things on it too that we can use for our pages. Look at that. That's a good journaling spot right there. So this is what we're going to use, but I am going to cover the inside of this, and I think I'm going to go ahead and cover it with another piece of our craft paper. And the reason being is I want to have that craft paper all the way around and then put our decorative paper on top of it. That's just going to ensure that this album is going to be really, really strong, and that is exactly what we want. So in order to find out what size I need for the craft paper, I'm going to just measure in about 1/4 inch on both sides. So it looks like 7.5. And then of course I'm going to need 2 pieces, I'm sure. 7.5. And I'm going to make my join right here in the center of this so that my spine's going to cover that up. So I'm going to do 7.5 by 10. And then, so let's do 2 pieces, 7.5 by 10. So we're going to cut this piece down, and I may have to run and get another sheet. Right there. Let's do 7.5. So there is one right there, and then I'm going to grab another sheet for this side. Okay, we have 2 pieces that are 7.5 by 10, and we're going to glue those together. And I'm using my score tape, and we did stock up on score tape right before our shipments started slowing down a lot. So if you want score tape, right now we have quite a bit in stock. I do have some art glitter glue in stock, and we are shipping that to any locations that are not freezing anymore. So if you want to get that, I don't have any more shipments on the way right now. They're kind of holding things up on that too. So it's just going to be one of those things. As we get it in, we'll list it and let you guys know. Okay. So put that in there so that I could get it nice and straight. So that's going to go from this end. I'm leaving about 1/4 inch all the way around, and my seam is right in the center, which is what I want, because when I put my spine piece down on here to attach my pages to, it's going to cover that over and make it a little bit stronger. So we're going to put it down just like that, and I'm going to use my 1-inch score tape, If you don't have score tape, you could put this down with just art glitter glue or Fabri-Tac, whatever you have. This doesn't have to be as strong as the outside cover, but I just like to use my score tape on the inside just so that I know everything stays down, because you don't want this bending and cracking. And of course I'm going crooked on my score tape, but that's okay too, because I'm going to fill in with my art glitter glue. Burnish your score tape down again. Always burnish. That is one of the things that keeps your mini albums together. I hear a lot of people ask me, why do my mini albums fall apart? You've got to burnish that tape down so that it adheres really well, and it's almost like you're pressing it into the fibers of the paper. Just like that. Alright, we're going to pull the backing off of half of this, and then we're going to put our art glitter glue down, and then we'll pull the backing off of the other part. I'm going to go about a 1/4 of an inch from the end and start there, a 1/4 of an inch up here, 1/4 of an inch down here. And I'm going to get it just as straight as I can. You don't want this going crooked. Okay, so there is that. Okay, now right here, we're going to put down extra art glitter glue. We're going to put it in that crease right there where it's going to fold. We're going to put art glitter glue in there. That's going to keep that paper kind of limber so that it will fold and not crack. And then we're going to add extra down through here. This part of your album, the spine part, is going to be the piece that gets the most wear and tear, and it's going to have the most tension on it. Okay, just like that. And then I just kind of start working it down to the end, like that. Go ahead and use your bone folder and work all of that glue and tape out there so that you get a good adhesion. And then it's good to sit this aside and let it dry for a little while before you start trying to bend and fold and all that. Because all of this glue in here needs to have time to dry before you start trying to bend. If you don't, you're going to get some bubbling in there. So I'm going to lay this aside and let it dry. And then tomorrow we will start adding our pages. We'll make our attachment for our spine, and we'll start decorating. So we will do that in the video tomorrow. I will have PDFs for the spine and for the pages. I will try to work those PDFs up tonight. So make sure that you go over and click on the link that is below the videos. It may not be up today. It'll probably be up after tomorrow's video. But I will leave that link below the video so that you can go over and click and get all of those free PDFs to do your mini album. Alright, we will see you guys tomorrow, and we will start putting this little album together and decorating. We'll put the pages in and all of that tomorrow.